What's up, everybody, and welcome to the House of Holocrons episode number 42. In this one, we're going to be going over just a lot of fun, have a lot of memories, and a lot of just smiles and laughter because we're going to be going over some parts of the Star Wars, like I would say, not fandom, but the extra part of Star Wars that really, for one, made George Lucas all of his money, and for two, made the universe, I think, live on as well as it did. And that is the toys, the collectibles, and the comics, things like that. The extra content that we got that really put Star Wars into the almost cult following that it became.
Yeah, we wouldn't have essentially Return of the Jedi without action figures.
Yeah,
Because that's really what pushed it on there was the success of the action figures promoting Empire Straight Back. I mean, there's a good push, but
mm-hmm.
it didn't really push until Empire Straight Back figures came out.
Right, and they were huge. I mean, by that time, we're talking about the early days with Kenner. And Kenner, of course, is going to be one of the best companies and the biggest companies when we are talking about these figures. That really is the backbone of the fandom behind, or I should say the craze now, behind collectors and vintage figures and stuff like that. I believe it was an original case that was like, you could special mail order like these 6 or so figures. It was like, Luke Skywalker, Ben Solo, Darth Vader, Jawa. I think there was like a droid. I think it was like R2D2, C3PO, and then Chewie
Greedo,
and
I believe, as well.
yeah, Greedo was in there. Leia, Han, and Chewie. Like the very, the things you expect in a grouping like that. And those figures, were just a very classic, hardcore, like, not very much movement, articulation.
Right coloration either.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a few figures that are legendary and worth like thousands of dollars now because they are what is it? Snaggletooth is one of them. Whereas his secondary figure is tiny and has this red outfit on like he's supposed to, but the original figure was released was very tall and had a blue outfit on, and now that figure sells for crazy amounts of money.
Some of them early ones didn't have removable lightsabers. They actually eject it out of the hand.
Yeah.
You, like push the little thing and it pushes it out.
Telescoping is what they would call it, but it's like this little. It almost looked like a piece of toothpaste trying to come out because it was always just like wobbly and just kind of like bent.
But if you get the Star Wars magazine, you could do the mail order for the Boba Fett figure.
Yes.
This is what a lot of the craze came from. That one's also one of the rarest figures to find because it was quickly banned because it had a spring-loaded rocket that shot out of the back of it.
Yeah.
And did not do well against toy laws and children.
Yeah, the early Boba Fett figures were like one of the biggest figures that sold and kind of created that craze behind Boba Fett, who only had...
It wasn't one of
didn't do it.
It was the biggest figure. Boba Fett
True.
figures sold out, and they was the most sold figure for the
well, because the prototype sold. Yeah, the prototype sold first. For a long period of time, there was a figure that did not have a firing rocket, so it was already super popular. And then the firing rocket comes along, and people are
that was the
everybody's swallowing it and shooting each other in the face.
Where you can like a different version.
Yeah,
not the spring rocket, but that was the figure, and it was funny because the movie didn't come out yet. Nobody knew who Boba Fett was.
Right.
Hype on Boba Fett. He essentially sold Empire Strikes Back, and
Kenner did an amazing job with this too, and they really capitalized on it by not only putting all these figures out, but then also putting out the dioramas. And I feel like, again, that's one of the best things that Star Wars is known for, and still to this day, you can go to almost any flea market or vintage toy store and still find a lot of these really crazy, cool, huge plastic Ewok villages and sand.
A friend of mine had the Ewok village from the cartoon.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. But the figures almost funded Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because they were getting more sales than movie sales. I mean, people are going to watch movies over and over and over again. It's so funny reading back about costumes people were building based on action figures or just rewatching the movie.
Yeah.
And and that's what really sold. I mean, the iconic Ewoks only came into existence for toy sales. The originally was Wookiee. It was going to be a Wookiee. India was going to be a Wookiee planet, and they changed it because they figured Ewoks would sell better with children. So that's And that's that's kind of been a slightly driving force. They always
Yeah.
kind of push this almost toy aspect in every movie, trying to get more sales. Which I get it. It's one of the biggest outside of people watching the movies. One of the
Hmm.
biggest money making is the toys.
Well, not only that, like the partnerships from it. I mean, yes, like we said, George Lucas made all of his money on the sales from the toys because that's what really he kept. It was an amazing thing in where which the studio said, fine, you can keep all the revenue from the toys and the little side objects that are sold because at that moment in time, no movie had done this. No movie had captured the nation so much in a fever, whatever, fever. There we go. That they were able to actually make this much money. But he got full rights for all the toy sales and made bank off of it.
Yeah, made
Which,
way more than he would have probably with. Well, now over time, probably would
yeah.
have made more with the movie, but at that time, he made more with that the toys
And
and
it
all the
really, yeah,
merchandise.
it funded so much amazing, like, imagination. Because so in all of the middle years between episodes, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, and 3, and then between 1, 2, and 3 to the sequels, all of the kids were playing with lightsabers still. I mean, I don't know if you had one, but every kid I know had at least one of the telescoping lightsabers that were pretty much it was just a
I had friends.
flashlight.
I wasn't allowed to have one, but I had friends that
Oh,
did have them.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Return of the Jedi when that came out, there was so much merchandise outside of toys. But then
Hmm.
we get into episode 1 and 2, especially episode 1, where the merchandise exploded outside of just toys. It
Yeah.
went from chips to pop to anything. There was Star Wars on shampoo,
Yep.
soap. It was on everything.
Oh, you
And
could
then we
find
get
a pod racer themed, bar of soap or a detergent like anywhere. It was on everything. Every Pepsi machine in the world was Anakin Skywalker's face, pod racer, Darth Maul.
and then we get and it's some in some restaurants like Taco Bell, Burger King had
Yeah.
like special cups or some kind of collect. You had to
Oh
pay extra. You didn't
yes.
get them with the menu. It was like a special thing.
Yeah, yeah, special collector's
Yeah,
cup, like Padme Amidala's
I
head could be a
remember
drink
Taco
topper.
Bell had something like that.
Yes.
Um,
And then that
but
was there was a lot more like I feel like before the internet, companies spent a lot more time like doing things like that instead of
yeah,
just shoving it in our face internet ad wise. They had to get it to you somehow, so they gave it to you in food. They put it in your local grocery store. You'd have a bag of oranges that had Phantom Menace on
well, they
them.
also had those cool displays. Like I think like Pepsi had like
Hmm.
those big roundos of the drinks in it, and they had
Yeah.
like these like figures that would come out of the middle of it. I actually knew somebody that had one in their house.
Oh,
It
nice.
was like a I think it was Anakin pod racer head would
Okay.
come out the middle and the drinks would sit. It was yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, people that can find those things collect them.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would love one of those huge cutout, like the cardboard cutouts of Anakin
and
and Obi
then
Wan.
even before and we go back to the other things, we have had novels since day one. We've had comics since day
Yes.
one. They switched companies, went from
Dark Horse to Marvel,
Marvel
yeah, but
to Dark Horse.
the Dark Horse are some of my absolute favorite, but they're not canon at all. This is where that great split kind of starts to come into play. When we get into literature, there is what is known as EU and canon. EU stands for Expanded Universe and was pretty much anything written. I believe the cutoff is 2016 or
Yeah,
something like that.
it's yeah. I don't remember the exact date, but yeah, it's pretty much any of the novels. There's a
Hmm.
couple novels I think that slipped through the cracks, but those are
Yeah,
based solely on the movie.
yeah.
So it's like the movie about episode 1 because they'll retell it in a novel form and add a little extra detail. I believe those are still canon, um, but it's a minute few. The rest are not canon.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many novels and comics even before then, especially when you get into the 80s and the early 90s. They had a big surgence of comics and
Yeah.
novels, a big chunk of them, because we weren't getting movies. People are still Star Wars fans. We're also getting, and then we get onto the games. We've spoke about the games before. And they had old arcade games. They
Hmm.
had
Or even like the Super Nintendo Empire
arcade,
Strikes
yes.
Back. I loved the Super Nintendo Empire Strikes Back Star Wars game.
Yeah, we have your classic novels. This is one I pulled off the shelf. This
Hmm.
one, not anything special. We have some of the, like you mentioned. I believe this is one of the early Marvel comics
Yes.
they did.
So Marvel did. I think Marvel had first rights in, of course, because Marvel did everything. Like
Yeah.
there was no
So
such thing as anything else. It was early age Marvel. Then it went to Dark Horse for the long period of time through the EU, and now it's back to main Marvel and Dark Horse still though. But yeah, those comics there, those like were the wildest because that's kind of was directly right after the first movie came out. These comics immediately started to press. Actually, the
I,
comics came out before the movie did.
I don't know when this. I have to look it up. This is number Star Wars number 69. So number
Yeah,
69
nice.
has the Mythosaur skeleton on it. So this is
Okay.
about Mandalore. This is about the theme park. The Empire put up a theme park on Mandalore. Then, yeah, we got some games. So I found this one up. It's kind of rough
Oh,
condition.
the best game ever. I don't know what anyone else is
I
talking
have the
about.
sequel to this, but yeah, I kept an original Xbox because that's kind of the console that a lot of people played it on.
It's what it originated on. If you like, that's why I think it's silly that the remake is coming on a PlayStation.
So we have a lot of our older comics. So I have this one's
Oh, that's
too
awesome.
old. This one's I believe late 90s, no,
Yeah,
early
early
2000s.
two thousands.
They
Yeah.
did these ones. So they did reprints. So this comic is the same comic that's in the back. It's just they reprinted it for this, and they brought the figures that. So they did a couple of these, but this is one of my favorite ones.
Hmm.
It's about the characters from the comic, and they made the action figures.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's one of the cooler things too is like there's also like these awesome packs of figures I would love to get for like
these ones are
the bounty hunters.
90s.
Yeah, but like the bounty hunters and the Mandalorians who trained the clones, they have their own pack. And like, yeah, you see there's a Cantina pack.
So
And
this one's special to me because this is one of the earliest ones that I remember ever getting.
okay.
I got in a birthday party. This isn't it. I bought it again, uh, in the package because I couldn't find all the pieces to the
Hmm.
original one. It's funny the actual rubber bands that are wrapped around the hands are actually disintegrated. So the little pieces in there. Yeah, this is an old box right here. Not super old.
Yeah.
It's like 95.
Yeah, but that was like golden age for a lot of things. I can kind of barely see the green right here, but that is a Kenner Power of the Force. That awesome black and green packaging is like the Power of the Force collection, which was when Kenner was going nuts. They were making everything. I mean, we got EU figures, we got What If figures, we got random background glove Shido figures. Like they were putting out anything they could get their hands
Well,
on in the late 90s.
and you get in the late '80s too. You get the Micro Machine sets
Yeah.
were pretty popular, and then one of the most popular sets that was post the earlier figures, still early set.
Hmm.
I have, I think somewhere I have to check, but they had different versions. But I think the first one that came out was the Darth Vader helmet. There's a
Yes.
plastic case and it opens up and you store your figures in there. Well, it came with Darth Vader and you had to put the rest of your set
Yep.
in there.
And the next, I
And
think, the next one was
I
a
know
Millennium Falcon.
I have the Millennium Falcon. I know I
Hmm.
have that one. I don't know if I still have the Darth Vader helmet.
Yeah.
Some of my toys got lost, but I have some of the originals. I got the original X-wing. I'm missing a couple pieces. I'm missing the part of it.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Yeah, and then now in our modern day we get the Black Series,
Which is
which are which
killer.
is your favorite.
Yes, that is my
And
preferred.
this
That's what
is
all of these guys are.
Yeah, these are the collector's dream that is affordable.
Yep.
They're still pretty high price, but compared to
Man,
getting things like Sideshow
we just got a Wicket figure. Wicket with his, that an Ewok this big with a bow, an arrow, and a club and a spear. $32. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I think he was supposed to be like 35 or something.
Yeah.
Grievous was I think 40.
And then
Get big, but yeah.
the other one, this is this is what the main seller for most of Kenner was throughout all of it was the 3.75 figures with the card back style. Now, I used to only collect Black Series, and as you guys can see, Black Series are my number one. They're my favorite. The articulation, the posability, I love it. But I've so recently got, because the card backs on these are what make these ones kind of fun, and they're really cool to display just like this because I'm not looking for this. It's such a tiny figure, you would never see it really that well in detail. But the figure here with the card back, I absolutely love that style, and this card back with a little Kenner logo. Like this is how all the original figures were also sold with
Yeah,
this
yeah, that's a
plastic bubble
throwback.
here. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
love this style.
I had several of those, and I did the things on this one like you did. So I took them out. The downside with those is you can't put them back. With these, you can put them back in the box, and I'm
Yeah,
glad they did that because that was a smart move. This is really meant for collectors,
yeah.
and because but compared because I have some of the higher end figures that are boxed up right now that are cost. And
I
you look at
gotta.
the sideshow that
Yeah.
cost several hundred
Oh,
because it go up.
sideshow. Sideshow's something I really want, but I want to go grab that Boba Fett real quick because I actually you were talking about having the classical figures, and I do have the original Stormtrooper. I have an original Dengar, and then I have a Scout Trooper on their speeder bike that is also from the original Kenner release. And those figures are, easily like almost $70 for the Scout Trooper and stuff. But yeah, and so this is like you can kind of tell the difference here. The detailing they put in Cobb Vanth versus the original Boba Fett here. That only has articulation on the hip for the legs to move back and forth, and the arms can move up and down, and that's it. This is the secondary version, but before they had the spring rocket, which it would be right out of here. But so this is what we were originally. This is the early '80s
There was a
figures.
company called Gentle Giant that came out with a series of the original ones like that, but large, and they made them life size as well. Those I thought were pretty cool. Yeah, I think I have Luke. I think of the
Yeah.
original, but I'm not sure. I have so many bought from movie.
Well, and
I didn't
then
have enough room to unpack, so I'm not sure what
right
I still have and don't
now, of
have.
course, when we're talking about other systems, Pops has made a huge impact on Star Wars collectors now. Like a lot of people have started to collect a lot of the Pops figures because of that. But
I'm
you,
guilty. I had tons of Star Wars pops. I do. I stopped collecting them. They got too much.
oh yeah. But if you want to talk about something that's made the most money, Lego. There are people who have gotten into Star Wars because of Lego sets, and there are people who have gotten into Lego because of Star Wars. I mean, I was lucky enough. I found this AT-AT at work one day, and this set, when I looked at it, this thing's like over $200 in the resale market now.
Yeah.
Lego got crazy expensive with those sets, and they're gorgeous though. Like, there's these really fun
They're
ones.
good. Lego's always good about getting rights and getting them keeping full rights. And Lego, I've had a couple of Star Wars Lego sets, but I stopped. There's so many. If I
Yeah.
got into Star Wars Lego, I know I'd get in trouble because there's so many out there. One of my favorite ones I had when I was a kid, after Star Wars Episode One came out, they started doing the popularity of the alternate style. They went to bricks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the Bionicle style. That was kind of when I was pushing, and they had a Droideka that was like this big, and it had weird parts. But it was cool because you could morph it into a ball and it had like a sensor, and you roll it out and it pops open. It's pretty cool. Of course, I didn't stay in one piece for very long, so.
Well, and I know a lot of this, of course, goes through like resale, but to me, I think the value of it is the joy it's always brought. But it's cool to know, like, Cara Dune. They're never making another thing of her, so I got a figure of hers when they were first out, and now I have a piece of plastic that's worth a lot of money. I paid $90 for the Jango Fett open season 4-part comics, and if I got them graded and they were high enough level, they're each like almost $1,000 comics because they're just the set is so crazy hard to find. Like the rarity and the collectability behind Star Wars figures and Star Wars comics and books has become to the point where people can make their entire life off dealing and trading in Star Wars memorabilia.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things they had.
I mean, like, there's now, and the helmets. You have a lot more than I do,
Yeah, they
but
have the
that's a big
helmets.
one.
I have the X-wing.
Mm-hmm.
I have about one. Well, I have some that aren't. I've got a custom made, but that are made by the Black Series ones.
Yeah.
I think I have 5 of the Black Series.
Yeah. And again, Black Series is the line that is kind of what they would call a high-end detail collector's line.
Right
mm-hmm.
Some of them come with like a microphone with like sound effects. Some come with light effects, like the Boba Fett. You hit the earpiece, the rangefinder falls down, it lights up. Same with most of the Mando helmets do.
And then, of course, yeah, now we have things like Galaxy's Edge, which, again, guys, don't worry. I'm going to eventually go there, and we're going to film it, and it's going to be me crying, and, oh, my God, look at the Millennium Falcon. But I see you have the 2 droids and stuff like that, like the RC droids.
Yeah,
That's been a really big one. The kids have been playing with those things forever.
Those are from Galaxy's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gone, but I had. They're both custom painted. The R2 doesn't look like it, but he's custom painted to mimic the movies. You get the wear and grime. The other one's just a custom job of a droid that I like. And then, like, I have this one is from.
Oh, nice.
From the part. And this one is also from, but this is a discontinued one. Very hard. These are very hard to find because they only did a limited number, and they did these.
Yep, Salacious B. Crumb.
Not anymore, but yeah, it's just cool figure.
I would love to have a Kowakian monkey lizard. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones because now they have the weird puppet ones.
Yeah,
that one's the most realistic one I've seen. And then I get this old droid back here. He comes with a little mouse droid and stuff too. He's pretty old. I put him up there. Yeah, these are remote control. The droids we're talking about. I have, and also they did the parks. They have the lightsabers.
Yep, of course.
I have the Disney park lightsaber. This is the Darth Vader one here.
And that's been a huge market for them as well, is the lightsabers.
Yeah, compared to when we were kids, when you have the telescoping flashlight, to now.
Oh, so yeah.
This is steel. This is metal.
Yep.
And this is real wires and the real rubber, because it's the windshield wiper blades they used, and then it powers on if I had a saber on. Yeah, these feel chunky. These feel like you're actually holding a movie prop.
Yes, it was the first time I ever got one of the more expensive lightsabers and held it in my hand. I was just like, oh, this is exactly everything I wanted it to be. It's so much fun. You immediately just give someone a good hilt, like a Star Wars style looking handle, and they're just gonna start making. Everyone makes the noise.
When Ultra Sabers started popping off, and that was the first sabers that I saw on the market way back in the day, and I bought those. Now they're way more advanced. I haven't bought any of the new color changing. This is back when you had to use discs to change the color.
Yeah.
And they had the early boards. But when they first came out with those, and I was an adult, I was like, my parents would never let me buy a lightsaber, so I'm like, I'm gonna buy a lightsaber, but I'm gonna buy an adult lightsaber. So I bought one of those.
Oh yeah. And there's so much of the collector's heart set for so many of the fun little random things too. Because I mean, well, what is it now? Like out of nowhere, they dropped Doc Andar from Galaxy's Edge. The figure's like $50 after shipping and handling, which that's a lot of money for a bit of plastic. But at the same time, he comes with holocrons. He comes with a Phase 1 closed helmet.
Holocron,
right?
Action figure.
Yeah, Sith and Jedi, and I'm like, I want it so bad. They know what to do to us. When the Mandalorian came out, they had a huge resurgence in their toys, and I feel like that really helped a lot of the toy market with Star Wars, because the Mandalorian really, really pushed things for the fandom.
Yeah, when you get Mandalorians, the best thing about them is sometimes they don't like the armor and the filming, but for merchandising, the armor is so iconic and so easily to make an action figure. The helmets, everything is so easily marketable. And
yeah.
So yeah, it's you see so much of that, and so it's funny because we went from seeing nothing but Anakin stuff everywhere or lightsabers to Mandalorian helmets and little Grogu's.
Yes. Oh, dude, Grogu took over the toy aisle. I remember especially when the Mandalorian first came out, there were Grogu backpacks, there were Grogu cups, there were Grogu socks and slippers and shoes and hats and gloves and hoodies. I mean, there was everything.
There was Grogu everything before we knew his name was Grogu.
Yes, exactly. When he was just the child.
Or the
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah, Baby Yoda. But then, even with the Lego video games have always been really crazy and good. Video games have been a major part of Star Wars, but also board games. Every single Risk, Monopoly, every major board game you can think of has a Star Wars skin, or Galactic Empire, or Squadrons.
Star Wars had their own
Mm-hmm.
board games, like, and they also had their own card game.
Yes.
They've had their own collectible. Well, they had their own trading cards.
Yeah.
And they had their own. Because when I was a kid, they actually had a set they came out with where you could, that actually you play people with playing cards. Speaking of playing cards, there's a million different variants of playing cards.
Yes, I have like 20 probably right over here.
I think a couple Christmases somebody bought like 5 different Star Wars designs. I'm like, what am I gonna do with these?
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, there's just so many. And then of course they have the RPGs, the tabletop RPGs.
I love the ones that Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flights is like my favorite dice system I've ever used.
Well, Fantasy Flight has, I think, 3 different periods of the Star Wars. It's like, and then they also have pretty much all the timelines except for High Republic, which if it gets more popular, I'd be surprised if they didn't make it.
Or aren't already in the works. Right, you're right.
And they have their like 3 different games too. They have the game, I can't remember, that one's discontinued. 2 of them are discontinued.
Mm-hmm.
The one where it's like, there's one where you're battling with figures and they had like it was like you would do a layout of like a corridor and you'd have these figures that are like this big and you'd fight with them.
Was it there was because I know there's like Star Wars like tactics and it's pretty much like
tactics.
It's like Warhammer. It's Warhammer meets Star Wars. Yeah. But they have they have it for the ships and
X-wing, which is for the ship,
which is still active. Oh my god, those things are so expensive.
That's the one I think that's still continuing.
So expensive.
I got into that. I have several sets when it first came out. So I have a big Empire set and a big Rebel set.
Hey, we'll have to.
Came out with the big ships one.
We'll have to do a live stream. We'll dust them off and we'll have a battle.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. A lot of them are out of date.
Yeah. That just means they're more expensive, my friend.
Well, they had some cooler ones that when I got out of it that they came out with.
Oh yeah, but it's like $50 for the Slave One and like a few other things that have recently come out.
Oh really? Because I think I have a Slave One because I had a couple because I wanted to get one because there's this card. It was like the Scarlet one.
Yeah.
It was like a red and white, and I had one tried to get painted that way.
I almost grabbed the.
I got into custom ones.
The Razor Crest.
They did the big one where there's the giant ships.
Yeah, the cruisers.
And so it's like they're like scaled up, but there were many ships. And that one was cool. I never got figures for that. I wanted to. The people that I knew that played it stopped. As when I lived in Colorado when I got into it.
Yeah.
And then, but if you play Virtual Tabletop Simulator, you can play those on there. They have, especially I know for sure X-Wing's on there.
There's so many fun but again even like the Risk style games or like Galactic Conquest and things like that. It's everything you can imagine that has come out in a normal board game or a video game has been Star Warsified.
There's any variant type they've done with video game. They have racing ones. They have a twist.
Oh, dude, Star Wars Pod Racer. Star Wars Pod Racer.
Yeah, I have the PlayStation 1 version of that. I have the Twisted Metal one I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but that one is an early one. And they have their own version of Doom. It's like a first-person shooter, and then they have their own version of Call of Duty, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, they've made Star Wars of that. They've made Star Wars RTSs with Star Wars. I think it's Battlefield.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called. But yeah,
they made real-time strategies. They made multiple of those. Yeah, they're really fun. Yeah. Galactic Conquest, I think, is the game.
And they have the speaking of Disney, they have the Disney parks because they have the 3D. If you have the where you can go like with Doc Ondar, like droid repair.
Yeah. There's a bunch of AR stuff that they've even designed with like your cell phone, and like with your little watch, you can be a bounty hunter. You can go around and scan certain things to get like really cool little messages and behind the scenes stuff, and that's what a lot of things that really made Star Wars is this cool behind the scenes stuff and these random little like, ooh, what is that little like? What is the story of the guy running around running around Bespin City with an ice cream maker? oh well, here's this book and here's a little comic about that guy and about what he's doing and why he's running around with that.
Well, I mean, when we were kids, though, that's all you could get of Star Wars.
Yeah.
There are the books, the comics, the video games.
Well,
We
because that's
didn't
yeah,
have movies.
the comics nowadays are telling so many more stories and like fleshing out how Luke got like his lightsaber, what happened to Darth Vader in between these, like so much crazy stuff that we never got canonized. It was just like, hey,
But
Luke Skywalker turned to the dark side and fought himself.
well, he had children.
Yeah, a lot.
And had and he yeah. There's so many tales, and then when we get to Dark Horse, they kind of there wasn't very many continuity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people were just writing stuff. It was kind of just Wild West. You just write whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it got pretty much approved. So there's a lot of conflicting novels and comics. But like I said, we didn't until episode 1 came out. We just had the original movies, and since we were born a little bit later, we didn't have the excitement of going to see those in the original release. So we had these comics and these books and these board games and early video games for more Star Wars. And then episode 1 came out, and then we just got a ton of Anakin and
A lot.
And Darth Maul.
Man, can you imagine being a kid and Nerf coming out with something like this when we would have lost everything.
They did, but I don't think it was Nerf because I.
Oh yeah. There were a few that came out. There were a brief few.
Han Solo blasters.
Yeah.
Blasters.
It's just there's so much cool stuff. So much cool stuff.
That's what it was. When you pulled the trigger, it lighted and made the cheesy noise.
Oh, hold on, wait. Yeah, the worst sound effects ever, but you love it. You love it. It might as well be a guy going pew pew.
I had one of the original ones that I repurposed for my first Mandalorian costume. I used that as my black. I spray painted it black.
Yeah.
I covered up the screw holes and I used that. And then my wife had my original
vacuum.
Jango
Good old
my
vacuum.
wife has the original Jango Fett blasters. They were like that, and that's what she had for her costume. That's
awesome. I mean, Star Wars has gone even far enough though to be like sunglasses. Like this is a $200 pair of like really awesome R2-D2 sunglasses. I mean, Star Wars has branded slowly into every field: toothpaste, food. I mean, everything, like everything.
Well, the crazy thing too is even when we didn't have the movies, we still were getting some of that merchandise.
Yeah.
I remember having some like toys that were from restaurants or like Taco Bell or McDonald's or that were Star Wars toys, but there was pre-episode 1. We were still even getting that back then. But yeah, we get it now. We get it in like huge spurts. It still comes out. There's always manufacturers, even when there's no movies. Hasbro's always pumping stuff. Lego's always going to be pumping stuff.
Right. I mean, Lego makes. I can't imagine. I'm gonna look this up over.
And they have the legendary sets like the Death Star and the Star Destroyer set that are.
The Death Star and all those are so yes.
Well, they don't do them anymore. You can't buy them from Lego anymore. They stopped making them.
Let's see. Revenue for the year grew 27%. 2020 to like $55.3 billion for consumers to grow. Like that's just how much. And that's a base thing for like how much Lego like.
Lego's just crazy because they're like the only thing that makes things that has a licensing for literally everything.
Everything.
Like, that's what's so funny with the Lego movie is because there's so many characters that get to see each other in the Lego movie that would never see each other because the merchandise, the companies would never allow that. I
mean, the Lego game that just came out, you can have like you could have Jango Fett hanging out with Din Djarin and Episode 2 Anakin Skywalker, and they actually interact and they'll kind of talk, and that's just really cool. You would never see that like anywhere else, but Lego has made everything possible just through the power of play.
I think in the movie we get like I think it was like the Emperor and like Gandalf and like Wonder Woman were like in one scene. Yeah, it's just like It's just so crazy. I mean, they make Marvel, they make DC,
Yeah.
they make it for everything. They have Simpsons Lego, they have you name it, they make.
Well, and like now there's those busts that have come out that are like the fancy higher end. Because that's the other thing is it's not even just for
Yeah.
kids. They like a lot of these huge, massive
No, you can't play with
models.
those.
Yeah, these are designed for adults. Black Series is not really designed for children to just play with. Can they? Yeah, of course. But it's not designed for that. Like it's designed for this posable, realistic, screen accurate.
Some of them are strictly made to display, like the helmets.
Yes,
They get the
exactly.
helmets.
But then you can also go into the kids aisle. Like there's the young, like I would call like young adult or like teenage toys aisle. Then you go to the young kids aisle, and they have like the new Jedi Adventures Kai Brightstar. They've already got that.
Well, one of the biggest sellers too that they've done for Lego is the minifigures for
Mm-hmm.
the Star Wars minifigures are insane. There's so many of them, and there's people that just collect the minifigures. And
Whole
there's so many
armies of them.
good
Whole
ones, yeah.
That's crazy. The army builders. I know people that do that with the Black Series and things like that, and it
Yeah,
looks
I've seen them
awesome.
with
I'd
the-
love to. I don't have the space for 12,000 fucking stormtroopers, man.
Yeah. Hasbro caught on when they started doing the the 5 trooper set.
Yep.
Like they understand. There's people that are doing it. It's like might as well.
Just give them a random, like start plugging random, like. But I also like it because it's getting like it put Waxer into like a realistic version because we've only ever seen him in the Clone Wars. So now we got like what realistic Waxer would look like.
Yeah,
Because that's a big thing with this. Like a lot of people complain about like a lot of the ways that these clones look because from like what we see in the Clone Wars to what you see in live action is very different because realistic looks a little different.
They did that with some of the Black Series figures.
Yeah.
As well. They did a realistic interpretation of several characters. I can't think of them off the top of my head. I think they had one of Ahsoka, like a more realistic before they did the live action. Some of most of the cartoon versions of them, but there was a couple of them that they kind of did an interpretation of them.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's always a scene for everything. I know there's an action figure modder scene where they'll mod the figures. I got into that a little bit. I have a couple that I bought.
I am yes. That's what I was gonna say. I'm straight up about to buy a few custom Mandalorians because there's a guy who I follow on Instagram who does marvelous, amazing like Mandalore the Ultimate and like Mandalore the Uniter. Just these cool.
Before we have these 3D printing. And
oh, dude, 3D printing.
When I got into it, this was before this 3D printing was really and they were just kit bashing. They were like taking pieces off of different figures. Now you can print your own, you can mold your own. Molding's a lot easier now. People don't really mold much. Most people just 3D print now.
Oh, and like my next plan is once I get a 3D printer, I'm gonna have so many dioramas for my Black Series figures. Like Navarro's in town entrance, a Tatooinean cantina scene, Mustafarian lava pit, Clone Wars battle scenes with like blaster and like painting. It's really things like Warhammer 40K and stuff like that used to be really stigmatized against. The level of nerdom in the world has blown up. So now sitting at home and painting the diorama to put your action figures that you pose in, I'm going to do a TikTok of that. Like, I'm going to go live on YouTube or TikTok, and people are going to watch it, and it's going to be a good time because it's so destigmatized as nerdy now.
You say that, and, like Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer, and even Pokemon when we were kids, that was all considered super nerdy. It was all stigmatized that way. But I feel like Star Wars is always immune to that effect.
Yeah.
There was, like, normal people. Like, I'd see somebody that would be considered a jock, because I was even considered a jock, would be like they wouldn't completely opposite of being a nerd, and they were a Star Wars fan.
Oh, dude, you give anyone a lightsaber and there's a battle.
That's the craziest thing, because even back when Star Wars came out, if you look at people waiting in line and talking about, they weren't all nerds. There were a lot of just normal people, and even back when we talking in the 70s and 80s.
And hey, props to you cosplayers from the 70s and 80s, because you guys had to go watch the movie like 12,000 times just to like, okay, how did that tube look when it connected to the right sleeve on the Rebel pilot? Oh, okay, that's what it looks like.
And not only that, they had limited in materials.
Yeah,
and
there was no internet. Yeah, exactly. There's no forum internet board. Oh man,
they'd have 3D printers. They didn't have prop makers. They had to do it themselves. They had to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, that the people that had good costumes back, and even bad costumes back then were impressive because having you didn't have anything to reference, and
Yeah.
even when you did, so like when they started coming out with like the Halloween costumes, or like the ruby with a ruby,
Oh my
or the
God.
red
Yeah.
costume, they were garbage. They were
Yeah.
complete garbage, and they were not anything you could reuse very well.
Exactly.
And the masks were just they were not. It's like they didn't even watch Star Wars. Most of the stuff they came out with. It
All
really
yeah,
did not.
everything was like massive. Like Boba Fett's screen visor was like this big.
But they were like
They were thinking more for
plastic.
they were thinking more for like children's safety than
The
for.
old, well, yeah, the old. I'm talking about the old like when
Mm-hmm.
they first came out with them. Those things were so bad.
But then yeah,
Like,
in the '90s and stuff, every Halloween aisle you go down has every stormtrooper, Darth Vader. You know, just a plastic slap-on mask.
I've ever been to during Halloween. Never seen a Star Wars section.
Right, there's always something because it's a huge fandom to play off of, and there's a lot of really cool outfits to play with. But
There's always been a Star Wars like a section in
yeah,
aisles. There's when you go to a collector store. I don't think I've ever been where they've had collector things. They didn't have a Star Wars section.
mm,
I don't think I've ever been to a comic store where they didn't have Star Wars comics. It's like it's the thing that got wormed its way in, and it's never left.
never
Like,
once. No,
I can go to a comic store and I can guarantee you I probably won't. There's a chance that I could not see Lord of the Rings something, and that's a big franchise.
yeah, or Harry Potter.
Yeah, that I would see like a Harry Potter comic, or I wouldn't see a section of Harry Potter toys. There's not a movie coming out, so they won't have a Harry Potter section, and we won't have a Lord of the Rings section. But there's always Star Wars. Like even
Yep,
as a kid into now, there's literally the section where they have all the Black Series figures now.
yep.
The telescoping lightsabers,
The
the
vintage collection
plushies.
figures, the plushies, the backpacks, the
It's the
random
thing
stuff
that never dies.
ever.
What I'm trying. It's like because that's what I'm saying. It's like when Jurassic Park comes out, they'll have
Yeah,
Jurassic Park figures and stuff. But when the movies kind of died down and we was watching it, the merchandise disappears.
the
But it doesn't
only
happen to
I
Star
would
Wars.
say the only 2 to 3. I'll give one. It's a little late to the game. It's not from the '80s like the other ones, but so Pokemon has always been around too, but that's only from like the '90s. Now from the '80s and '70s though, we still have the only other figures that have had this hold on fandom like Star Wars is He-Man and Transformers, and those were designed around toy making, whereas Star Wars was a movie first.
Well, you can go to even places where you cannot find He-Man or Transformers, you would still find Star Wars. Like you can
Yeah.
go to like Hot Topic or like even,
True.
like T-shirts, and you
Yeah.
cannot find a He-Man T-shirt, but you'll find a Star Wars shirt. I guarantee there's at least one Grogu shirt.
Yeah.
There's at least one Star Wars shirt like this. And,
JC Penney's will at least have one Star Wars shirt.
but they won't have anything else. Like,
Yeah.
they won't have Star Trek. They won't have. They could, but they won't always have it.
Mhm.
It's like every store I go to, I can always find like the one Star Wars merchandise.
Yeah.
At least carry, and they'll have some other nerdy stuff, some like anime and they won't always have Pokemon. And I know you mentioned there's always certain Pokemon merchandise that won't die down.
Yeah.
But that's the weird thing about Star Wars is I can go in literally almost every store I go to. There's at least Star Wars version of something.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part because it's almost always been that way. At least since like the late '80s,
Mhm.
'90s, that we've like I said, go to Walmart. You can find the Star Wars shirts. You can even find some trading cards. You can find the Star Wars section of the action figures,
Mhm.
and then the Lego section.
Yeah, there's Star Wars section of Lego because in the Lego section there's its own section for Star Wars Legos. Because like they're bringing out these Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary Lego sets that are like these gorgeous, very clean and crisp movie sets. It's like $100 for the Lego set of the Emperor's throne room with Vader and Luke. It's so expensive. Everything is so expensive for these pieces of plastic, but we pay for it.
Imagine if you
We
get
pay
to
for it.
The Legoland place where they have all the
Oh
exclusive
man.
stuff. How
Oh.
expensive those are.
See, that's the problem when I want to go to Galaxy's Edge. They have so many exclusive things there. Like, I need to Kyber crystals. I need to get a holocron. I need to get, like, I got so many things I need to get.
Is this what I had a relative of mine go to get their So they brought back
Exactly. I
the
want one of those
Holocrons.
so
And then I
bad.
get one of the. But I was upset when I opened it. I didn't get the black one, but
Yeah.
I get the red ones.
I'm gonna have to try and buy a few just to see if I can get a black one.
Yeah, they when they first came out with it, they didn't have a piece of paper, and you could like hold up to the light and you could tell. But now they have the like a cover,
Yep.
like you can't cheat. Just the red ones, because
Yeah,
yeah,
because people were cheating.
that's the crazy phenomenon though. Is like literally, I can go into these stores.
Well,
I
yeah,
can
like
go
you
to
said,
like
even when
TJ Maxx
nothing,
with my wife, and
uh, a little Star
they'll have
Wars.
like Star Wars little baking sets or Star Wars mugs or whatever, and they'll have Star Wars clothes. I mean,
Well, and like you were talking about though, even in the '90s, the early 2000s, when movies weren't like the movies weren't everywhere, just again, or the Phantom Menace, the prequels had ended, and they had a lot of hate. A lot of people tried to brush it under the carpet, but a lot of people hated the hell out of the prequels for no reason. You know, it was the new thing, and they didn't like it.
it
But
was different.
yeah, but man, like you could not shake a stick at a store without going to the Star Wars section and finding something. Like it's very, very, very true, and it's still always survived. It survived everything.
Yeah,
It was
it's the
always there.
fad that will never die. Is no matter how hard George tried, no
Hmm.
matter how hard the new Star Wars company. Sometimes I feel like they're trying to kill Star Wars off. Um, George, I mean, I know people, and I've done it, have dogged Kathleen Kennedy, but man, George did some dumb things. He put some dumb things out there that
Yeah,
if they came out today, a lot of people would be mad at him. So yeah, but it just never goes away.
yeah.
That's the crazy part.
And the toys are always going to be there because it's such a huge part of the fandom now is the collecting, and like even in the middle of the pandemic when you could go to stores, people were still buying the hell out of these figures, and like you would see tutorials all the time like, hey guys, make sure you pull up the shelf and look underneath, and you will actually, people will 100% hide these. Like how many times I have found these in the most random places because people will literally grab it and put it somewhere else hoping no one will find it.
Well, my problem is I live and even when I live in a small town, or like I'll travel to these small towns where I live,
Hmm.
and you'll see a bunch of hicks, and you'll be like a bunch of country people that have farms. They don't like Star Wars, so I check there because I think they might have. Sometimes I do find Black Series I would
Yeah.
not normally find, and I'll send you pictures. Hey, look,
Yep.
it's the first time we've seen these in store. But still, like even my Walmart, they sell when the new wave comes out, they're gone instantly.
Instantly. There's always a collector somewhere. Somehow, you cannot go to any town in the US of A and just that no one touches the toy section here. Collectors are fucking everywhere.
And well, the thing is, kids won't get to have these days now, and we don't get to experience now.
Hmm.
Is one store that used to be great with Star Wars was Toys R Us. They used to
Oh,
have a giant
dude.
Star Wars section, and they've always had like a huge Star Wars
To
section.
those of
But
you in
then,
Canada, you're lucky. You still have the amazing Toys R Us. Yeah, but and you can look at pictures from the early '90s when the 2000s when Phantom Menace was coming out. The toy aisle was filled with Star Wars stuff. That red and black Phantom Menace with gold like style of card back. I mean, the aisles were like the entire aisle was that.
well, they usually have like a whole section. They usually it's not even like Walmart will have like a little block
Hmm.
of Star Wars. But Toys R Us would have like multiple aisles.
Yep.
It's like it would be one aisle, and they have like a whole middle thing. So it was, yeah, they always had something big. And then yeah, and you go anywhere. And my wife's gotten used to it now. She likes to go with me now. We'd ever travel or we go into a city because we only have like Walmart where I live.
Yeah.
So we go to the bigger cities and we go out shopping. She'll be like, well, let's go. I'm gonna go clothes this year. Originally, we'd go clothes, jewelry. Now it's like we're gonna go to the mall first, check out, what, the box lunch, whatever nerdy store they
Yeah.
have there, and then we'll go GameStop, and then we'll look up if they have any collector shop,
Yeah.
and that's
Oh,
where I met
dude.
him. Was
Yes,
we
going
used to
to
do that.
going to collector shops, like those vintage toy stores, going figure hunting for a figure out in the wild. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is part of our date night. Is before we went out to eat, we stopped at vintage stock in another town, and they had it. So
Yep.
and that's where these come from. It's just well, no, yeah, these will comes just some stores will have like so you'll find these like collector stores that have really really old stuff.
Yep. I mean, that's how I got my Power of the Force, because that EU Dark Side Luke, that's from like the early 90s. And then I have like a Ralph McQuarrie inspired Luke Skywalker when it was Star Killer and it was a female.
And even Walgreens, even your stores.
Oh, dude, Star Wars, they get exclusives.
Yeah, they used to. I don't think they've had them anymore.
Man, I'm still mad. I missed like I don't have any of the exclusive Walgreens things, and they're so expensive on the resale market now, because that's where a lot of people make money, is the resale market for Star Wars.
With me, because I have a lot of the exclusive pops, the Walgreens pops.
Oh yeah.
I think I have like 3 of the exclusive prototype Boba Fett's. Originally I bought 3 because I had a friend that wasn't able to get there, so I gave him I never resold them, and then I ended up getting them again because people didn't think I had it.
Yeah.
And then now they re-released them. So back then they were only a few, and they were hard to get. The prototype white one. I remember those things people are dying to get those things. They were so expensive on eBay.
Oh, just knowing something is a little rare though makes it awesome. Like the Darth Malgus figure I have is like a $70 piece of plastic. I mean, because naturally, even today, with all the inflation, that's another thing I've always liked about vintage collection. Black Series is getting expensive. Like, I love it, but it's getting expensive. $14. Honestly, the Kenner TVC style of figure is, like, price point wise, one of the best. And they make cheaper figures like that. They're not stupid. They understand to make like less articulated, cheaper figures for like children and like smaller collectors. But if you want to go crazy, I mean, this is easily thousands of dollars.
It's so funny that I go to so many places looking for Black Series.
Yep.
And I never run into another Black Series hunter. I did for the first time last weekend. I bumped into a guy. It looked like a normal guy. It looked like somebody's dad. He's like, I was skimming, thumbing through him. He goes, can't find any new ones either. I was like, no. This is the first time I've ever, because every time it's always been the invisible hunters.
Yeah.
Every time I show up, they're either gone or they're about to be gone. Or
yep.
It's so funny. I don't really run into them in the wild, but I did for the first time.
Every now and then you will, but it's crazy, like, because those crazy hunters, they literally are there at 6, at 5:59 a.m.
They know when all the dates drop.
Yep.
They'll go when the store opens, and they'll. I've seen the videos. I hate it. It irritates me because they throw. Some stores only get like 2 copies of each, like 2 of each, like piece of the way.
Yep, and they just get all of it. They'll just cart all of it, and you're just like, no.
And then you just get Lando.
And you get Lando Calrissian, and poor Lando. He's a great character, but that's the problem. It's not that no one wants Lando Calrissian. It's that we already have him. There's so many Landos. For some reason, they overproduce Lando like he's gonna be a peg warmer if you don't stop producing the guy.
Well, and also the problem with Lando is not like a clone trooper or something where you can have multiple.
You only need one Lando, maybe different outfits, but I have the one Return of the Jedi General Lando, which to me is one of the best figures out there for likeness and soft goods. Love that figure. I only need that though. I don't need Skiff Lando. I don't need Gambler Lando. I don't need Solo Lando.
There's the iconic Lando. I don't remember which one it is, but he's literally. There's very rarely that I go to Walmart's and then don't see him on the show.
The number one Lando you always see is it's usually the General Lando Black Series in the green figure or the green box, because where it has the Cobb Vanth has orange. They're all color coded.
The problem with mine is my Walmart. I think mine's the green one. I think I see a lot. But yeah, the problem with mine is they'll see like the rungs full of these Landos, and they won't ever order the figures because we have plenty of them, but nobody's buying them because there's like 10 of them on the shelf.
Recently I got super lucky and I found ARC Trooper Jesse, and I found those 2 Mandalorians that are super, like, I did not expect to find that whole wave. But that's because I know of a local GameStop nearby that sells a lot of Star Wars figures, so they get a lot of Star Wars figures. So like, it kind of sucks. It's like, hey guys, if you want to get more Black Series on the shelves, you gotta buy more Landos. We just gotta eat it. We gotta eat that for a little bit because no, they're not gonna make anymore.
Just taking all the Landos and buying them and just
Giving them to give them away. Here you go, kid. Have a Lando. Here you go, kid. Have a Lando.
Yeah, he's not a bad character, but I'm sorry. He's no, to me, no clone trooper, no stormtrooper.
Right.
I love the troopers. I love the armor figures.
Oh, because like, let's see over here. Like, it just looks good on the shelf. They really look nice. You know, the little bit of similarities but differences.
Yeah, that's how I control my spending. Is I only stick to troopers and bounty hunters and sometimes droids.
I used to have I only buy this, and then I just the itch it got me. I can't help it. I
started that way, especially when I was the pops and it got out of control. I had so.
That's the one thing I'll give myself credit on is I don't go too crazy on pops. A lot of them are
gifts.
If you
ever want to increase your Star Wars pop collection, I have a lot of rare Star Wars pops.
I can't say no. That's my problem, Mike. That's where it all comes from. Is I can't say no. I mean, like this guy. Did I need Ben Solo from the Ralph McQuarrie concept art? No, but it looks so cool. They're never going to give me a Black Series version of this.
Did I need Snaggletooth in both colors? No, but it did.
Snaggle.
They did the rare Snaggletooth, the blue one.
Oh, as a pop?
Super rare, yeah.
That's hilarious.
So hard to get. It was like forever the hardest to get.
That's amazing. I had no idea they did that.
Yeah, I have so many exclusives and con exclusives.
Mm-hmm. That's what this Rebels Super Commando is, which I was like, oh, that's cool because they just showed up again in Mando.
Ones. Oh, one of my favorite one that I keep out, I forget what I do with them. Really, right here. This is the only one that I keep on my desk.
Oh yeah, nice Vader. Yep.
He's electronic.
Oh, it lights up. Yeah.
Yeah, his stand lights up in his.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
You hear him breathing? That's the pop.
That's awesome.
He puts his head down, and he breathes. And it's the lightsaber, and it lights up.
Yeah, Pops did really good. Pops is a thing that came out of nowhere. When I was working at GameStop for a part-time job for a little bit, man, Pop sales are huge. And like that's the other thing is like that's the thing that makes me want to collect Pops is these companies are really good at knowing like, hey, if we release a bunch of people that no one has ever seen in the Black Series, they have to come here to get it then.
Well, they did a couple boxes. No, I think there was a friend of mine did that.
I mean, I don't because
they made the Black Series looking boxes.
Well, or like this one right here. That is the Darth Maul Way of the Sith, like Dathomirian lava, like glow in the dark. They've made so many really like Savaggio Press has a pop, but he doesn't have any other figures. So,
yeah, and they get them in crazy. You can get statues. You can get,
like you said, Hot Toys.
As soon as you want to go, hot toys and
gorgeous. So
sideshow collectibles.
Oh, some of the most beautiful model statues you will ever find.
But they're so expensive. I mean, sideshow.
I'm actually
ones that are several thousand. Like life-size ones that are.
Oh, dude, I would love that. Yes, that'd be a life-size Vader is like easily almost $2,000, but I could do it. There is a Hot Toys, a Sideshow Plo Koon at my local vintage stock for like $100, and I'm really close to getting it. I don't know if it's Sideshow. I think it's Hot Toys. It's one of the it's Hot Toys.
I've never seen under 400.
Yeah, it's a Hot Toys, but it's a gorgeous Plo Koon that it's like a massive like 8-inch.
My favorite one that I missed out on, I wish I didn't do, because I've still considered buying because it's so expensive to rebuy it.
Oh yeah.
Cad Bane one.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do the Cad Bane disguise. It comes in the Clone Trooper armor.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite sideshow figure. It comes with like options like backpack. Because the cool thing is sideshow is like multiple different hands you can take out. All the different multiple different attachments. It's just crazy. They'll have giant. They'll have them anywhere from a couple hundred to tens of thousands of figures. Like I said, the life size. They have bronze statues they've done. It's pretty nuts.
In the future for Black Series is only looking better because we're getting more Knights of the Old Republic stuff. I'm so excited to get my Bastila Shan and Darth Malak. The Darth Malgus figure is gorgeous, like absolutely
When I
gorgeous.
get into High Republic, if they ever do the High Republic, it'd be pretty cool.
I don't know why they haven't started yet. Yeah, I don't know why they haven't really gotten into it yet, because the High Republic it's so gorgeous. It's such a fun time.
The Tempest. I'd have to get Martian Rope.
Oh, dude, I would love Martian Ro's helmet.
I'd definitely get I'd probably get the 4, and then I'd probably get. I haven't been big into Jedi, but I might get Genos. I don't know.
Ostel and Geos.
Geos, and then I can't remember his name. The Blade of Bardoza.
That is Porter Angle.
Yeah, Porter Angle.
Porter Angle's lightsaber is gorgeous, but yeah, I'm here really. There's this guy in I believe the Netherlands has a great, amazing props Etsy. There we go, where he sells a lot of the High Republic, Avar Chris, Skier. I would love Skier's lightsaber. Yeah, there's so many amazing lightsabers from the High Republic, and the figures would look great.
I showed you the guy. He's coming out with the electronics, electronics and everything installed of the Stellan Geos saber. I'm very tempted to get it. I've already looked at Stellan Geos cosplays, the master.
Yep. Oh, and that's another huge thing that we could go on to for a much longer time, is the cosplay aspect of all this. But just in the aspect of toys, though, guys, Star Wars is almost as synonymous with toys as it is with the movie industry. And it's really what I think has helped carry Star Wars all of these decades are these amazing toys and figures and play sets and dioramas that we get to play with and make and create. And that's what... all over
your room like a crazy border.
Exactly. It does look like a child, but, a nice, almost 32-year-old man-child.
People over and I'm sorry about this mess.
Yeah.
My husband does. They're like, oh, it's okay. I love Star Wars too. And then he says, oh, really? And you run him over. And oh, wait. You dig something out. And
oh, no, you're going to love this. Yeah, every time. If someone likes Star Wars, you got to come here. Oh, come see this. Come see this. Look at my collection. It's a sickness, but damn it, I can't help it.
Turns your home into a museum.
Yep, exactly. But it's worth every penny, I think. So make sure. Okay.
I think we were talking about doing phase 2 on High Republic next
week. Yeah, next week we can do that.
I'm finishing Path of Vengeance, so we should be hitting High Republic phase 2, at least for the 4 books that I read. Cool. So yeah, so look forward to that if you're watching.
Yes, we'll be covering all of the stuff from phase 2. I'll of course have some of the knowledge from the comics. We'll go over the 2 young adult novels and the 2 adult novels.
You're going to be covering some phase 2 and some future videos as well.
Yes, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into phase 2 and kind of a where we're at. And then I'm going to be doing a more large and collective. We've gotten a little bit more phase 1 knowledge, so we're going to be doing a phase 1 and phase 2 roundup to get us ready for phase 3 here coming up soon as well. So that'll be a really big one as well. Now in the comment section, make sure to put down, what is your favorite toy of all time that you've ever gotten from Star Wars? Whatever it is. I don't care if it's a painted rock that you bought at a Scholastic book fair. Just put down in there what your favorite toy was, and look forward to next week where we'll be going over High Republic Phase 2, the amazing books that have come out from that one, talking about some crazy cults. But before I digress too far, have an amazing rest of your evening. May your collecting and hunting be wild and fervorous, and may you find the Holy Grail items you've been looking for, and may the Force serve you well.
May the Force be with you. Should be free.